Okay.
Hi, love it. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
How's it going? I am Haley Gray, and I'm the group owner here in the Women's Entrepreneur Network. And this is my friend, Victoria Bentley.
Hi, everybody.
And we are going to sit here and chat about life in general. Sometimes we need to come up with a good title for this segment. If you guys are on the live, give us a hashtag live. If you're on the replay, give us a hashtag replay and let us know that you are out there. We're going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart because it is counter to a lot of what the gurus will try to tell you, or what some people really try to advertise online. And I'll give you an example. I know a lot of people who come online and they're amazing, experienced professionals. And if you think I'm talking about you right now, I'm probably talking about you and 50 of your brethren, or your sisters, or hundreds. I've seen this over and over again. And there's this lure of you come online and you're going to have this recurring revenue and you're going to make money in your sleep. Have you ever been promised that, like, riches in your sleep, make money while you sleep, because you're going to develop this online course and it's just going to be easy peasy and the sales are just going to flow right on in. You can maybe throw a couple of ads at it. You're going to build this funnel and bada bing, bada boom, you're going to be making 7 figures.
What kind of passive income is that? Doesn't get any more passive than being asleep.
Right. And it's all a gigantic hoax.
It's a Bernie Madoff.
It's a Bernie Madoff.
You made off with your money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because everybody buys the software, everybody buys the ClickFunnels, the Kajabi, the whatevers. And, you know, whatever your platform is, you're buying it. And it's a lie. It's a lie. People have been lied to.
Somebody else's dream.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that there is this dream, this delusion of a 4-hour work week when you're an entrepreneur. I did say delusion. No, like, seriously, I see people getting taken for a ton of money. They build these courses, and there are people who charge to build these courses. And then there's no plan in place to sell the blanket things. Well, 99% of the work is in the sales, y'all. It is not in the building of the course.
That would make sense to me, that would be so. But people so much want to have a piece of the dream. They're willing to do things like that because they think that that's going to get them there. But it's really somebody else's dream.
Yeah.
Unless you're willing to build your own.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of
that, entail.
That's why I talk about building that platform, building that know, like, and trust factor, and then doing, the sales. And you can run cold traffic. You can warm traffic. You can do a lot of things with your business, to get to that dream that you have. But I think that there's a lot of components missing. And that's why I liked your topic of no deposit, no return. Because when you start skipping over steps and you start skipping over the deposit piece, suddenly the return goes to zero.
Get rich quick schemes. The word scheme is always a negative.
Mm-hmm. If it sounds too good to be true, it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hear it a lot with Bitcoin as another one, or Ethereum.
I've never heard of Ethereum. What is that?
It's another form of blockchain.
Bladder infection. What is Ethereum?
It's another form of blockchain or digital currency, like your, it's another currency exchange. Your Forex, your blockchain stuff, your Ethereums, all of these Bitcoins, they're huge scams. People promise huge return on investment. I'm like, don't you think that if it were as easy as what you think it is, getting a few people in, showing them how to do it, and then you'd be making money hand over fist. Do you really think it works like that? And it's a giant pyramid scheme, or it's a scam.
So, I think of so many other pyramid sales things, and you and I know a lot of those people. We've met a lot of those people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always, I'm going to hit next week, or I'm really close. And what did you and I see was so many of those people that they were looking up the chain to deliver the money down the chain, and that just isn't how that works. I mean, if you're not out there selling,
Mm-hmm.
there is nothing for you.
Right. Well,
And
and that's how most things in our businesses work is sales. Our business is fueled off of sales. I wish it were any other way. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm introverted. I'm really not comfortable getting out there and selling.
then do something else.
Then you either learn to like sales or you do something else. And
Mhm.
y'all, I had a home care agency and I tried to do the hide behind the scenes thing. Not only did it not work, I lost a lot of money trying to hire other people to do sales stuff that I didn't know how to do and didn't want to do and wasn't willing to learn how to do. And I got my ass handed to me. Like literally handed to me.
Painful lesson, expensive,
Uh,
painful lesson.
expensive, painful lessons. Yeah, I've had my fair share of expensive, painful lessons, and one of those was, when you learn this no deposit, no return. If things sound too good to be true, they are. I learned the expensive way, the hard way, the most difficult way possible, that when you are the business owner, the buck stops with you. And a lot of times that is dealing with a problem client. It is dealing with the sales. It is dealing with the going out and talking to people even when you don't feel like it. And a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, you must be an extrovert.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Not everybody is. And
No, your
we
best
talk about,
salespeople aren't necessarily extroverts.
well, entrepreneurs do what they have to do,
Yeah.
get their business rolling. And
Mm.
they learn how to do things that maybe the things that do not come naturally, they learn.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
you and I talked last week, and we're bringing that back up again about when things go wrong and the buck stops here. I don't care if it's a secretary that screwed up the document that you handed to a client. It's your business, it's your document. I don't care if
Mm-hmm.
you prepared it or not, and it is your fault. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Let me fix this for you. Not my secretary, not my staff, not Sally called in sick, not, somebody's out on maternity leave. No, when it's your business, it's if you are not willing to put your head in the guillotine, if you're not willing to do the work, then what are you going to get?
No, absolutely. And I mean, um, I had that again this week. Something that was supposed to have been sent out to a client, a status report, wasn't at the end of October, and it wasn't done. And I found out about it today. We're at November 24th,
Ouch.
right?
So, why don't you tell everybody how you handled it with the client?
So I gave the client the information I did have. I called the client. I emailed them. I followed up to make sure that they got the email that we sent. And I'm following up with my team to get that report put together by tomorrow.
I think a client respects you when you fall on the sword as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to throwing under the bus. Those seem to be the two options when it hits the fan. You can either fall on the sword or throw someone under the bus, and it never works out well when you throw somebody under the bus.
Mm-mm. No, and it's like, yep, I can see that that was not done. Clearly, you don't have it in hand, or you haven't found it. So I need to figure out where it is and who did it or didn't do it. But either way, you're going to get your report. You know, the work we do is too important for our clients
Mhm.
to not deliver results, to not get out there and do it. And as my husband said, the higher up you are in a business, the more time you spend apologizing.
I think that's a really interesting thing that Richard said, because that implies grace and that implies humility. And if you
Mm-hmm.
have not developed those two qualities,
Mm-hmm.
you have no business owning a business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to make things harder, I think. You know, it's not really up for me to judge that, you have no business owning a business, but I will say
How
that
about this? You will have no business because it'll be out the door and with somebody else.
absolutely, you're going to have a lot less business if you're a jerk to your clients.
Hmm. Hmm.
And to be fair, you also cannot be a jerk to your employees.
Mm-mm. Well, we're back to golden rule. You know,
Mm.
not only treat others, the way you want to be treated, but treat others the way they want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, totally.
so how do we convey these lessons to people who are starting out?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it's a daunting thing when you think about, oh gosh, I might have to work 80, 90, 100 hours a week. Do I
Mm-hmm.
know what I have taken on?
Yeah. Well, and I think that one of the things that you learn very early on in your business is that you're going to live like nobody is willing to live, so that you can live like nobody else can. And it takes hard work and sacrifice. And I'm going to say it, yes, there's a lot of mindset to it. There's a lot of pieces and parts to it. But it does take sacrifice. It takes consistency, and it takes some really hard work, because a lot of that hard work is the work on ourselves. That's the hardest part, is that work on ourselves, not just, you know, back breaking, digging holes in the ground, but it's that soul searching and that development of self at a cellular level, and at an elemental level, that has to happen when you're a business owner, that you start to learn and change and really forge that new identity of who you are. And I think that that goes into my whole comment about sales, because I'm not naturally an extrovert. When I started out, going to networking meetings was a nightmare. I was I was so bad at it. I was hysterically bad at it. I mean, it was funny. I mean, I was heavy. I'm not naturally the most socially graceful person. I would like go around the sides of the room, because starting small talk with people to me is just one of those things that, y'all, I've pretty much sucked at. Um, I didn't go to Southern Charm School and learn how to say, well, isn't that nice? I'm just me. I'm a little bit raw. I'm a little rough around the edges, and I am kind of who I am. So, it was quite the process. And a lot of that, going through starting a business, learning how to run a business, I lost a lot of money. I've made a lot of money, but it's been a lot about changing the who I am at a fundamental level. And hey, Beth, good to see
Hi,
you.
Pat.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, and that's the hardest part. That deposit, that hard work is not, me saying, oh yeah, you're going to be in the backyard, digging holes. It's that work on self.
I remember when I started out, and I started out at my kitchen table. I didn't have enough money to have an office. And I started out with a computer at my kitchen table, and my little dog would sit on one of the kitchen chairs, and I'd sit on the other, and we would develop documents. I didn't have any to start with, and we would
Mm-hmm.
copy, what we learned on the internet or what I could find from law books. Like, okay, this is a fee agreement, and this is a custody agreement, and then you would start. And hi, and you would go from there. And I just remember um, I had this woman who came to my house to to have a consult and had her sit in my living room. And she had had another lawyer prior to me, and I asked her what happened. Why isn't Sally Sue representing you anymore? And she said, I got really pissed at her and I broke her nose. And I thought, wow, I think it's time to not bring clients into my house. I've got to work a little harder and earn enough money so I can have an office. That was the funniest thing. And needless to say, she never broke my nose and we did okay. And actually, I got her to a good therapist because she had a little bit of an anger problem. And that's why her husband had left her and whatever else. But yeah, yeah, work,
Yeah.
work. And if you are not willing to put it in, don't throw money down the rabbit hole because you are not going to have a business if you're not willing to put it in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I thought that I could just, in the beginning with my home care agency, just throw money at the situation.
You know, that is
You
a
want to guess how
very
much I lost on that? Let's not.
that's a very that is a and you know what? That's a role that parents do a lot. If I throw money at it, the problem will go away. If I
Mm,
get my kid to a good rehab, the drug problem will go away. Really?
mhm.
And how did the drug problem get there in the first place?
Mm,
I look at this and I think that's not always the answer. And it's just like we've done that with sections of our population where we've thrown money at it instead of looking at what's the problem and how did this happen. And yeah,
yeah.
some money helps, but that's not going
No.
to solve the problem.
Well, and what I discovered was that I hired people before my business could support it. And I mean, I eventually figured things out. But then what happens when you hire people before your business can support them and before they are desperately needed in the business? And I'm sure you've experienced this, Vicki, is that you get the problem where they're pushing peas around the plate. And what happens, and you're kind of laughing at me, is imagine that you have a plate and you put a pile of peas on them, and you know you can either take a plate and pile peas on the plate, or you can call that plate full and spread them out very thin across the plate until none of the peas are actually touching. And in both cases, that person will tell you that their peas or their plate is full of peas because it is, but it just depends on your definition of
Right.
peas and
And
plate and full.
and no one and they could be an excellent worker, but no one is going to have the investment or the buy-in or the heart for your business like you do.
Mm-mm.
And they have not given up X, Y, and Z to birth this business.
No, they haven't given up sleepless nights
Right.
and, bottles of stomach, Tums and
And so if you're
all
not
of that.
careful, you're going to find yourself being resentful of these people and you're going to be unhappy that they're not doing as much as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And expectations are really that's a dangerous place for me to get in. It's one thing for me to have expectations of myself. I think that it is reasonable as an employee. I expect you to be here from 8 to 5, whatever. I expect you to bill X number of hours a week. I expect you to bring in this business, or I expect you to do that trial. Um, but to expect someone to be me,
Mm-hmm.
no, because not everybody has my talents, nor do I have theirs. I mean, I always hired really good trial people because that was not my favorite thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if I am away doing a trial, I am not home building business or home being sitting at my desk building business or developing business or booking new clients. And if there's no one putting water in the pipe, then there's no money coming out at the other end to pay the
Right.
people I've hired. And it's a funny thing how, as women, well, for me, it was very hard to say, you're just not working hard enough, or you're not doing your job, or
Hmm.
you're
Yeah.
okay for lunch for
Oof.
2 hours, and I've only seen 20 hours billed this week, but you're supposed to be here 40 hours. So what's the deal? And um,
That's the hard part. Well, and even if, they're showing up to work 40 hours, are you really seeing the level of productivity coming out as well? Sometimes you've got that P pushing problem where, the level of productivity for that 40 hours, even if they're billing it, just isn't there.
I think that's a I think it's a good point. I found a lot of times, um, I would have to say check your drama at the door, because
Mm-hmm.
everyone who's coming through the door in a family law business, they are not here out of choice. They are here because everything has hit the fan. Their spouse has left, or they're about to lose custody of their kids, or they're being sued for divorce, or it's something dire. And if you're sitting there crying because your boyfriend has dumped you, or you're worried about, is he sleeping with my best friend, or whatever it is. I had at one point several people in my office in a in somewhere in the continuum of a breakup in their own marriage or live-in situation. Talk about non-productive people. Talk about having employees who just could
Mm-hmm.
not do their job. And then you'd have someone else, and you'd have no idea that this was going on in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to compartmentalize, get their work done, and deal with it at lunchtime, deal with it at 5 o'clock. And we would sit and have a cocktail at the end of the day in my office and talk to employees. And, that's when you can get into the personal stuff. But if the investment isn't there, you got nothing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, even if there is the investment there, I think, your point about distractions is a huge one. You know, for me, one of my biggest distractions has been obviously my children and my oldest child in particular. And, the first year after her traumatic brain injury, to me, and this was part of why I had to sell my home care agency, was that my daughter needed 24/7 supervision, and I couldn't just leave her anywhere because the medication she's on, one of the delightful side effects of it is that they can, especially in adolescence, so she was 17 turning 18, they'll go flip in this, just at the flip of a switch, and they'll go from being fine to being actively suicidal and attempting suicide. So, talk
Wow.
about distractions, right? And of course, this is my oldest child, this is my firstborn, and traumatic brain injury, and all of these things. And so, you want to talk about huge distraction. Yeah, that is how I ended up in the situation that I ended up in. So, a lot of times people will say that, I'm cold or, mean. And really, a lot of it has been that the second time that the problems really rolled in, because she stabilized for a little while and then she rebounded back in 2018. That second round through, that second go round through this, I was basically in the oh hell nah phase. I understand that we're bopping in and out of the hospital. We've got EMS in our house every other week. We're doing all the crazy calls. We're doing all the crazy stuff. But, I am not being distracted by that this time. I am not going to deal with the consequences of that this time. Because when you're a business owner, I mean, you can tolerate a certain amount of distraction, but when you have something like that just like sucks you in completely and and in its entirety, I mean, the implications are just horrific. I mean, they were horrific to my family. They were horrific to my relationship with my husband, my finances, and everything else. And I mean, it's hard, as a business owner, because it'll destroy your business. And it did in a lot of ways for me. And then
I want to stop you because there's something very important about this. as your friends, as your colleagues, they are probably clutching at their heart and saying, Haley, I am so sorry. And they mean it.
Mm-hmm.
But two things are true at once. I love you, but where the hell's my paperwork? You've had my money for a month now, right?
Right, exactly.
But they have hired you for a job and you have got to separate that out or you will not have a business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that they're hard-hearted, it's that they have lives that keep marching on and they
Even as your life is falling apart into a million pieces.
right. And they might care
Ouch.
very much and they've got to get their work done.
Absolutely. And that was why they hired you in the first place, is to get that work done.
Mhm.
And that was why I sold my home care agency. You know, it was a lot of why I sold my home care agency and just focused on the easier digital marketing and business consulting. Um, you know, I get it. It's definitely not easy. And I feel bad, you know, when you've got employees that are going through that like level of chaos.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it at lunchtime. And I'll see you at 5. Let's sit down and see if we can solve some of this.
Mm-hmm.
But right now at 9 o'clock, you need to talk to Billy Bob about going to trial.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember one young woman in particular who just cried, I can't talk about it. It's just too upsetting. And I said, well, you have two choices. You either pull yourself together, go home, come back tomorrow, pull together, or do not come back. And, this wasn't like on Friday it was fine and on Monday it was bad. We had been going through this for a couple of weeks, actually a couple of months, on and off, on and off. It was a nonstop drama with the fiance. And I had a business to run. And if she was not able to do what she was contracted to do, she had to go because I needed to hire someone who was able to do what she was contracted to do.
Right. And
And
you, as a small
she,
business owner, can't afford to pay them if they're not doing the work
they're not,
at the
they're
level
not
of productivity you need.
right. The payroll shows up every week, every 2 weeks.
And they
If
expect
I
to be
get paid
paid.
or not. So you're either putting money in the pipeline or you've got to go. And I know how harsh that sounds, but I have an obligation to the people who have signed a contract with me that I am going to provide certain work for them. And it is my word. And my word has to be my bond and it has to be the best quality work. I don't care what you do, but whatever it is, you've got to do the best possible work you can do. It doesn't matter what your job is. People are counting on you. And, I understand when someone dies. I understand you got to go home because you've got a sick kid. But I don't know if you've noticed, Haley, there are perennially troubled employees. And if it isn't
Mm-hmm.
one kid, it's the other. And if it isn't that kid, it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
husband, or it's their mother, or it's their neighbor giving them, or it, they are magnets for discord. And that kind of toxic stuff will just ruin an office. You can't have people like that. And I
Mm-mm.
don't know if you've noticed this. This has been my experience. Men can't quite figure out what it is going wrong when they have an employee like that. They'll say, oh, she's got problems. And I will say, but have you noticed this is just a recycled issue? It's a problem with her personality that has enabled
Mm.
behavior or, has encouraged or has neglected or whatever it is. So that it doesn't matter if it's child number 1 who has a learning disability. I get it. You've got to get them extra help, and the teachers are so mean to that child. Child number 2, oops, child number 2 got pregnant. Oops, the spouse of child number 2 has now left and you're raising the child. You don't want to raise the child. You've already done that. How did you get yourself in this situation, et cetera, et cetera? None of my business. The only business we have is you have been contracted to do this job. Are you able to do it? And they
Mm-hmm.
always say, "Oh, yes, I am. But can I have Tuesday off because I've got to go to court? Or can I have Thursday off because I've got to take my grandchild to the doctor?" And it just never ends. And I think one of the things that we have to do as business owners is develop that radar that says, I can recognize trouble and I don't need to bring trouble into my business because it's going to cost me not only in dollars, but it's going to rip up my soul and it's going to rip up everybody who's around them. And it's just toxic to the workplace. And
Right. No.
that's when you learn by experience. And then you start to recognize, another borderline is walking through the door, another drama queen is walking through the door, or, um,
Well, and it's interesting because some of us have what I would say is just a certain amount of drama going on in our lives. I mean, I've got 4 kids. I
that's
have
life.
crap that goes on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I took care of both my parents and I did all those things. And yet I always had excellent performance reviews in my career, in my job.
Because that's your character.
Because that's who I am. But and I know other women who also have 4 kids, and then I know some who can barely manage to get out of the house with 2 shoes on and their shirt on and right side out.
I can remember a tough time in my life. I always had a pair of kind of blockish heels, not heels, but heels, because
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to do a lot of walking to get in and out of like the courthouse from the parking lot, whatever. And I'd always have navy ones and I'd have black ones. And I had on one day a navy left and a black right because in my closet I couldn't see well enough. And I realized that was such a lesson for me. It's like, okay, what's going on here that you're not noticing this? And I had to change some things in my life. I had to make some decisions on if I am too overwhelmed to notice if I've got a navy shoe and a black shoe, then what on earth is a client thinking? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's important. It's yeah.
Yeah, that detail orientedness is tricky.
Yeah, they're going to say, well, are they going to screw up my paperwork? Are they going
Mm-hmm.
to forget? You know, in a legal contract, if you leave the word not out, she is not responsible versus she is responsible for the mortgage payment. Whoa, that's you know, you got your carrier on speed dial at that point. Like, I made a mistake. Yeah, and it's going to cost a couple $100,000 here. I need you to come fix it. Um, you know, you
Ouch.
you can you can only play that, once without saying, am I in the right business or am I doing the right thing?
Right.
Um, just little stuff. You fly an airplane. If the airplane gets ahead of you, man, you can find yourself in the wrong airspace.
Mm-hmm.
Living in the Northeast, you always talk to flight before you go and find out if there are any temporary flight restrictions because we're in between Washington and New York, and the president is often somewhere nearby. And I can remember hearing because my co pilot called and hearing them say, okay, there's a flight restriction that's going to start at 1 o'clock. And it was around 12. And I said, do I have time to do X, Y, and Z? And I was talking to the air traffic controllers. And they said, yeah, we'll call you when we need you to come back in. And they were very nice that way. And, it's about relationships. They were good guys and they helped me out. But when I landed that day, I saw other people taking off. And I thought, well, did they give me the wrong information? No, those people had not gotten with the detail of calling up to see if it was a clear flight space. And indeed, that's how you lose your license. Little something stupid like that. And on just you're busy and you forget to call. And oh wait, the president is flying to Allentown and you're, 50 miles away in that airspace. You could get an F-16 taking your picture and meeting you at your front door, and that's the end of that's a big deal. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the little things in life that people are looking, and there is no one. I don't care if your secretary forgot it; it's all on you, and
Mm-hmm.
that's life as an entrepreneur. And no guts, no glory, but here you are.
Right. Well, and I mean, and I think that that's a cautionary tale for employees is, when you're doing your work, you need to be quick, and you need to be very accuracy driven. You can't just.
You can't sacrifice one for the other.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. No, and a habit that we had in our office that I would encourage everybody to do, no matter what, if you're creating documents, is one of us would read it. Each have a copy. One of us would read it while the other one is speaking it, and you
Mm-hmm.
compare. If you got a ruler, line by line by line by line by line, and you're making sure that the word "not" is in there. She is not responsible for paying the mortgage, and that the intent. And we would always find something. We would, because that's the purpose of proofreading. We would always, oh, forgot the apostrophe, forgot this. But those are the little things that people are hiring you for. Think about it. You're a brain surgeon. Oops, nicked an artery. He'll never move his right arm again. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're not looking for good enough. They're looking
Mm-mm.
for perfection. And as a business owner, they're expecting perfection from you. And if they're willing to pay you this kind of money, they want the very best. So, no deposit, no return.
Yeah. And that's part of the blood, guts, and glory that goes on with being a business owner.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And the freedom.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. And that was something that was very important to me. I wanted the freedom to make choices. And if you're working for someone else, you don't have those freedoms. You don't have the freedom to say, I do
Mm-hmm.
not want to take this client on. When you're an employee, someone says, Billy Bob's your client. I don't like him. I don't want to do the work. Too bad. You're an employee. You're doing the case. And I think that, um, it comes at a high price,
Absolutely.
but it's well worth it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I mean, to me, the reward has definitely been that I've been able to sit through 10 hours and counting of assessments for my daughter in the last week.
Wow.
And fetching the youngest one from boarding school, drove up there Thursday after the 3-hour assessment, picked him up at 8 a.m. on Friday, drove home, had to buy him clothing on the way home. But I mean,
Have you
that was
grown
all.
that much?
He's grown about 3 inches since
Wow.
August. So yeah. And then, we had to buy him clothing, come home, do those things, but, be a mom. And then that evening I had to go and fetch my younger daughter from Greensboro, which is about an hour away. So we had the midnight pickup there. But it was that flexibility that I have as a business owner to say, you know what, look, today I'm taking a nap because I just drove back from Virginia and I'm about to have to drive to the other side of the state and back again. Being able to do those things.
Something I've noticed too, and I don't, your audience is all different ages, but I noticed that the trips I drive at night take so much longer than if they do them during the day.
Hmm.
We drove just about 400 miles the other day back from seeing our family, and we drove down in the day and back at night, and it was raining and it was night, and I don't want to do that anymore. And
Raining at night is just evil.
no, it's just, so we said, okay, we're going to get up at dark 30 and leave
Mm-hmm.
at daybreak, and that's the way it is from here on out, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I feel you. We drove up to Virginia Thursday evening, and of course it gets dark earlier. So yeah, but I mean,
And you're
if
not
I,
in the mountains. I know where you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I just, I'm at that point too. I mean, I'm not, not eyesight failing or whatever, but I'm like, I really don't like driving long distances at night on windy, curvy roads in the rain.
Mm-mm.
Not my preference.
With the deer.
And whatever else. Yeah, we have lots of deer here in North Carolina too.
Yeah.
I think I'm being assaulted by a cat. I'm just trying to see who I've got.
Did you see that? I don't know who starts these things, but the little videos that go around. Did you see that man? in Florida who got in the pond outside his house and grabbed the alligator and pulled his King Charles Cavalier puppy out of the mouth of the alligator. And the puppy just ran off and needed a suture on his leg. And the guy's holding this alligator. It was, and I thought, oh, I'm so glad you saved your puppy. It was just,
Oh, yeah.
oh, pretty kitty.
This is Jinx. This
Oh,
is my oldest daughter's kitty.
oh.
And she's very opinionated.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, I'm just trying to keep her off the keyboard now. Yes, the tail. Yes, this is the perennial discussion.
So, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
We're staying here. We were supposed to go visit my sister-in-law, but my brother-in-law was exposed a week ago to COVID and potentially, so we're waiting for all the COVID test results. And today my nephew was coughing, and it may be asthma, it may not be. And they've had strep go through the house this week. So we're staying here.
Hey, you've just given me all kinds of reasons to like not leave my house if that's
Mm-hmm.
how it is.
Well, and to be fair, Zena was at a party at school a week ago that turned out to be a super spreader event. Fortunately, she's negative, but that definitely brought it home for us. She's negative and she's got COVID antibodies, so she's already had COVID. But
this is interesting stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Interesting days, interesting life, right?
2020, if you had said to me, I remember in my last Christmas letter of 19, it's like, here's to the roaring 20s. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I heard about this virus on December 30th. And here we are 11 months later, and we are still living this. My, oh my.
That's what it is.
I wish everybody the very best Thanksgiving, and I wish you happy times with your family and peace. And the best part of Thanksgiving is sitting around the table, enjoying the people you love. And
absolutely. And what are you doing?
We are going to be here. And I'm going to be cooking some of the dinner, and a friend is cooking some of the dinner. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. What are you guys serving?
I'm doing sweet potato casserole and corn pudding and pumpkin pie.
Awesome.
And that's my part of it. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going non-traditional. So
what are you having?
We're having coq au vin, which is chicken in a red wine sauce.
Yeah.
With bacon and mushrooms and pearl onions. It's really yummy. And
it very much is.
And my older son will probably make himself a cheese pizza. Because that's what he does every year for Thanksgiving.
Why?
Because he likes cheese pizza.
Well, I hope
he's always done it. He's done it since he was 10 years old.
I hope he will join you all at the table.
Oh, he will. He likes to cook for himself. And he likes to bake bread. So it's all good.
And do you have a bread maker?
We do, but we usually make stuff by hand. We've been doing all kinds of crazy bread making. And my son is the keeper of the sourdough.
All right.
So he has become a sourdough bread baker and a bread making master this year. So if he makes biscuits, he makes quick breads, he makes the sourdough cinnamon rolls. Huh?
You buy King Arthur by the 100 pounds.
Usually by the 50 pounds. The 100 pounds are a bit hard to lug around.
Yeah, I bet.
50 pounds is a bit much.
I'd never heard of King Arthur flour until you told me about it. And then I saw it at Costco.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's regional. So.
I don't know. I thought it was national, but
any
hoodle.
I had never heard of it before. So.
I feel you.
I wish you the best holiday, and
Happy
everyone out there,
Thanksgiving to you too.
and let us know about your holiday when we see you next week, and tell me what the best part was.
Awesome.
And anyway, blessings
You
to everybody.
y'all take care. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you soon.
See you next Tuesday. Bye bye.
Bye bye.